you have to get out and exercise when you have those young kids, because it's such a good stress reliever. You don't want to put all that stress on a spouse if if you're,
Mm-hmm.
hopefully you are developing some sort of relationship there too together. But a lot of times it's just so much tension because it's stressful. And
Yeah.
especially when these, moms are doing handling, and you had kids at home and all of that, more of that. And so, yeah, get out and do something for yourself. And exercise is one of the best things.
Let's learn how our next guest get up, dress up, and show up on purpose. Enjoy the episode. Hello, morning enthusiasts. Welcome to the Best Morning Routine Ever podcast. I am your host, Dr. Lumid, and today I have a phenomenal guest to the show. You better believe it. Today we have Deborah Johnson. And let me tell you, this young lady has written multiple books and albums, hundreds of songs, and musicals. Yep, and she's the producer of the popular podcast Women at Halftime. And she is just ready to share some knowledge on how to maximize your skills, talents, and resources to make the second half better than the first. I like that phenomenal halftime. So sometimes you got to break things into quarters, but she's breaking it into two. So let's bring her on to hear her input on this. So with no further ado, Deborah, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much. It's great to be here. And I love the best morning routine ever. I'm not really a morning person, but I get up very, very early and
Yeah.
start very early. And I'm excited about that. And I loved it that you called me a young lady. So that was good too. So.
Of course. Of course. We will hear about your morning routine at the end, whatever that may be, because that's the beauty of the morning routine. It's whatever
Right,
helps you get up, dress up, and show up so that you can write your
right,
book, your musical, and all that good stuff. So
right.
before we jump right into it, please tell us about your journey thus far. How did it evolve?
Well, it started, of course, young, and I've been in music for a very long time. But the field that I'm in currently, as I've expanded into speaking, writing books, and a lot of online content, it's all pretty much connected
Hmm.
because it's encouraging people on their journeys
Yeah.
and making them happy in life pretty much as they're able to find the skills. And because I've been teaching for so long, I started teaching at the age of 13
Wow.
and privately, and then I taught adults at that age as well. So
What was the topic?
it was music, taught
Mm.
piano. I wanted to do that instead of pull weeds and babysit. So I wanted to I could earn more money teaching piano, and that got me through, basically got me through school. So doing all of that, but it was pulling out the uniqueness of
Hmm.
every single student and setting routines and how they can move forward. My students were very successful, and it helped me learn right along the way.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of fun, and have never really quit, because even what I do with speaking and writing books, I'm still teaching pretty much,
Yeah.
because we are still training in some ways. And in music, sometimes when you write musicals, you still train people in some way, because you're showing them a story. And so
Hmm.
it's all kind of connected, that. So understanding that, and my purpose became clearer and clearer as I had to keep reinventing my life at different times. So you have to redefine that and refine it for at that point. And when people say halftime, the internet says halftime is officially at age 40, which comes really fast, okay? Really fast.
Uh-huh.
But, some people I work with, they say, oh, I'm in the kind of like, maybe I'm in the 2/3 time, so, or something, halftime 2/3. But usually it's people around 45-ish, 50-ish, and you're asking now what's next, or, I've been there, done that. Now I've had all of this experience, and now what do I do? Or with all, especially what we've just gone through with shutdowns and with everything
Mhm.
else, okay, I'd like to do now some of the things I've put off for like years and years. So those are the type of, questions I get. I
That's
think that
awesome.
was enough. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's good. I love that you say with every season you have to modify it, right? You have to
Right.
modify and tweak your purpose, and your life exemplified that because you're writing books now, but it was musical, it was albums, it was
Right.
songs, and you were a teacher at 13, so it kind of evolved.
Right.
The
It,
progression was nice to see.
Yep, it really does. And when you start, but a lot of people discount their skills, they discount their experience. And I was actually ready to do some of that as well because, the music's easy for me at this point. And,
Hmm.
I still work for Disney. I still do, I think I can sit and play for hours and hold a conversation and,
Yeah.
and so you tend to discount some of that experience that you've had. And I don't like to just show it off. I work at it. It's fun. But I didn't, I needed to take a step back in my life, and I didn't want to discount what my experience was,
Yeah.
and working as a headliner and doing all the projects. And now I'm asked a lot is, how in the world do you get projects done? How do you
Hmm.
finish them? And I can help you. I
Yeah.
know there's no set system, one system, because everybody has to set their own system pretty much. But it just needs, that push, and you talk about habits as well. It's the same thing.
Hmm. And I want to talk about that creative process. That's that same question. Like, how do you get it all done? What's the time management? How do you get in the flow and kind of stay there? Um, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, well, no, I was going to let you keep talking. But yeah, yeah, that's fun. Because you mentioned in the flow, people think that when you are a writer, that it's just this, okay, I'm inspired. I'm going to just sit down and write. Writing is a discipline. It is an all-out discipline, right? You get better at it, or because you've set a routine. Writing is rewriting. So it's not something, sometimes you do have these moments of inspiration, but then you
Mhm.
go back to them and you go, oh, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But um, it is, you have to set the time aside to be creative, and you won't always feel creative. And you just have to set the time to just start doing the work, and you find that you build upon that. And I always say there's layers of
Yeah.
that are
Time
happening.
blocking is big. I can hear that would be beneficial in a process such as this. Time blocking and ensuring you just get a couple of pages done, or just get your thoughts on
Right.
paper and don't worry about the editing piece of it because we can be
Right.
overly critical.
Right. Oh, totally. People throw their work away. Yeah.
Yeah, in the process. How is it like working for Disney?
Oh, I've worked for Disney. I love it. I call it, working for the mouse. And plus, I'm in an area, because I've been in music. I get to bring joy to people. So, and I've worked with them probably about 25 years, and people are so impressed when they say, "Oh, you work for Disney." And, "Oh, I know someone who works for Disney." I said, "There's thousands who work for
Yeah.
Disney in every single area." Um, but it's not been my main gig because I've done a lot of larger things. But it's just fun because it's an organization that they treat me well as a musician, and I
Mhm.
can just drop in. But it's not only just musician, it's an entertainment, because you are connecting with people, and you're telling them the stories. You're doing all of that at the same time. You're meeting people from all over the world, from what I do. And so yeah, it's been, I sign my life away every year on a contract, and I'm an independent contractor. So
Mhm.
that's how that's worked. But there's a lot of different areas that people have worked with them, and some have greater experiences than others. And I've heard all of those as well, because they do work you hard in many areas too. So
Yeah.
anyway, but yeah,
This the storytelling. You get to bring joy, not just in kids' lives, but adults, because those adult
totally.
shows, somebody got to sit and watch that with the kids. And there is really a lot of value
Yes,
added.
there
Th-
totally is. And when you see the smiles of people coming in, and that was the hardest things. I don't want to get political here, but it's very tough when you're in a position like that to have a mask on your face. because you
Mm-hmm.
can't smile at the people. You can
Mm-hmm.
only see, sometimes you can't even recognize them. So, but that's what it's all about, connecting with the eyes and your smile and your words. And
Mm-hmm.
so when you can understand each other, and even I've had wonderful experiences with these parents who have brought back really challenged
Mm-hmm.
children in disabled, and you can see the light in their eyes and their smiles. It's just so beautiful to be able to do. But it that applies toward every single area of business. People are
Mm-hmm.
just very interested in that because but it every area of business, to be able to bring the smiles and the satisfaction of moving forward in life.
I like that you correlated with business, because then
Right.
as you are building your what you're passionate about, the goal is to serve others, right? That's why we get into business. We offer them a product or service or
Right.
book
Right.
or a piece of music. So the goal is to receive that feedback of enjoyment, wanting to do work with you. What how do we define what makes us so unique? What do you think?
How do we define what makes us so unique? Part of that is that you need to do some self-reflection.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone is different. I mean, all you have to do is go to any sort of public venue and look around and look at the number of people. And the, everyone is mannerisms, tone of their voice, their experience. Even if they have the same sort of experience and background, their skills are still unique because they're going to
Yeah.
have a unique area that stands out. So I help people identify those unique areas, but it takes reflection. I'm big on journaling, and you
Yeah.
don't have to journal long. You can do a couple lines, but just uh, put down your thoughts. And as you interact with either other people or content that you're able to do, and I put out a lot of content, but you're able to be able to evaluate yourself in some of that and move forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, being able to stand out, especially even within business, right? Why would people want to do business with you? And
Yeah.
reflecting on that.
Right, right. Was that a question or was
Mm,
that a
no,
comment?
it's a comment. I'm saying, yeah, that was a comment. Like, considering reflecting on that, why would people want to do business with you? Essentially, that personal branding.
Right.
As an author, you gotta publish the book. You gotta get the word out. You have to put your brand out. So let's talk about how the personal branding aspect
Yeah.
of business.
Personal branding, that's a really huge subject. You've got opinions everywhere on that. I have
Mm-hmm.
found the personal branding, because I've had so many opinions and people that come to me and they want to help me brand my message and promote, and I can help you in all these areas. One of the best ways for me to evaluate that is to take a step back and really understand who I am first,
Mm-hmm.
because that's the authenticity. And that's where I was negating a little bit of that of I love to create, period. I love to create. And my main emphasis right now in creating products are companion products, or kind of revamping some of my current products to enhance how I can help people. But it's stepping back and understanding what will communicate with others and that authentic self. I don't need to be like anybody else. I don't need to look, all my posts don't need to look just the same, to have that branded a certain way. As I wrote, my latest book is called The Summit. It is an allegory, and in it is the social media circus. Okay, in it you have these different areas that you visit, and this our little character, her main protagonist, her name is Mallory. Her name is, it means ill-fated. And when she finally gets to her summit, her name has to change, and it changes to Andriette, which means strong and courageous. But she has to go through the social media circus, and she's attracted to all of the other brands out there that are they're influencers. They're all doing amazing things. But then she sees them on the roundabout, And as she's stuck on this roundabout, and she realizes those people, they look a lot different than when they're in their memes and they're in their, who are these people? So I think a lot of this in our personal branding, we have to really step back and make sure we are authentic to ourselves, what we are called to do, our life mission. I'm huge on your core competencies, but also on your core message and your core values. And all of those come through with your branding. And it's going to take a little time. There's no one set way to do that. And you discover, because I have so many areas of my business, it feels connected in some ways, but in other ways, I just have a lot of product, a whole lot of product. So when you have a lot of product, you are putting advertisement out in different areas, and but you want the branding, the authentic, how am I going to say, the authenticity,
Yeah.
to be consistent with all of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Across the
I hope
board.
that made sense, and I hope
It
that
did.
answered your question.
It did very clearly. And and you added that journaling actually helped draw that out.
Right,
Being able to become aware of what your voice is, who you are, and how
right,
you can stand apart from
right.
everyone. So I have to ask, what's your second half look like?
I am doing exactly what I want to do in my second half. Exactly. And I just spoke with a colleague, a professional colleague yesterday, and we talked about this because as speakers, the model used to be you show up on a stage, and I've shown up on a lot of huge stages, and you do your keynote, and then you come home, and then you fly out the next weekend, and you do something. Well, now it's a lot different. We can do a lot of things online. I take a certain
Hmm.
amount of select events, but a lot of things that we can do absolutely online. And I can keep writing, and I never have to quit really until
Yeah.
my kids put me in a home and they decide, okay, mom, I think you're starting to not make sense. But they're good boys. I've raised three sons too. So, but I've worked my business around to be able to have time. That's part of my core values with my family. And at this point in my life, there's a lot of my travel now that I want to do, not just for business. I've traveled a lot, but I want to travel with my husband. And I
Hmm.
also, that we've been married for a lot of years, and we made it this far. So I want to enjoy these years,
Yeah.
and visiting our sons who are kind of spread out a little bit. And so I combine some of that travel with it, and I help people work remotely as well, because I want to be able to work remotely in my business so I can help
Hmm.
others to do that. And there's a lot of things that you need to put in place to do that. But we have a lot of tools with automation and all of that. So
Delegation.
yes. So a lot of that, I am doing exactly what I want to do. I work very hard. I get up very
Hmm.
early, and I work, and we'll get to our routine pretty soon. But I do get up early, and I get a lot of things done. And then I know I have to plan ahead. When
Yeah.
I'm going to be gone, I know I have to have podcasts scheduled. I have to have the videos done. I have all of that, the content, all the newsletters done, all of that scheduled. Any other appointments, I work around that. And then, I'm freed up. So,
Yeah. To
yeah,
travel, to do what is it that you love doing, and it's writing, it's creating
yeah,
content,
hmm,
essentially, and it's serving
yeah.
your audience in that way. So tell us about those habits that help you to do, what you love. How do you get up, dress up, and show up? What's your morning routine like?
Well, everybody's going to love this, how early I get up. I was born on a dairy farm, so I get up early. I say I get up early with the cows. I get up really early. But the first thing I do when I get up early is I spend a little time with my journal and in a devotional time. I get into, I'm a woman of faith, so I get into, I read a little bit of the scripture. Right now I'm in the Psalms. I love those because the Psalms of David, they're written in musical form. So those are
Yeah.
really wonderful to go through, and they're very refreshing, and it fills my soul. And I just write a couple lines, usually a response or whatever I'm going through. And then I usually exercise. I like to get it
Hmm.
done early. I started doing that when we had three boys, 4 and under. It was crazy time, and so I
Yeah.
started doing it early. I like to get it out of the way. Right now
That's
in
right.
Southern California, it's very hot, so I like to get it done when it's not as hot.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I will exercise usually for a good hour, and
Hmm.
then I have coffee with my husband, and I've usually been at my computer a little bit too. So I have thoughts that we're going to talk through. He's one of my sounding boards. I bring him on my podcast once a month. He's a great guy. He's a former professional athlete, and he's been an RIA, which is a registered investment advisor. So he has a lot of things he can share, and it's really fun for us to be together. But we talk through some of the things I'm doing. A lot of things I'm running through articles. Okay, what about this? Do you have any other ideas? And that's kind of fun for us to do in the mornings. And then I just really start full on. And I mean, I've already been up
Yeah.
for at least 2 hours and all that.
Yeah.
But my morning starts usually the night before or the couple days
Hmm.
before, because I've got it planned. I know what I'm going to be doing. I do live streams a couple days a week, so I know I'm set up for that. I have the script already done for that. That's all pretty much done. So I can, because I always said I used to show up at the gym. Now I've gotten used to working out with some equipment we have here, and I take my bike out and all that stuff. But I used to say, I would show up at the gym. Basically, I'd send my body there and my mind would follow later. So, you know, but it's especially when you're facing stress. And I tell young moms this all the time. And right now I have granddaughters. So I know I look much too young. No, but I
Yeah,
do.
you're
I
a
have
young
two
lady.
two granddaughters, which is fun after having three sons. But I've told those young moms who I've worked with is that exercise, you have to get out and exercise when you have those young kids, because it's such a good stress reliever. You don't want to put all that stress on a spouse if you're,
Hmm.
hopefully you are developing some sort of relationship there too together. But a lot of times it's just so much tension because it's stressful. And
Yeah.
especially when these, moms are handling, you had kids at home and all of that, more of that. And so, yeah, get out and do something for yourself. And exercise is one of the best things. Just work that
Yeah.
body. Yeah.
Well put. I'm not a mom yet. I In 3 months I will be. I'm pregnant with my first child,
Good,
and
good.
so my husband and I are super excited. But even that exercise is stands true in during pregnancy. It's almost like you're training your body for a marathon, your labor,
Yes, yes.
and
You
so you keep it
definitely
going.
are. You definitely are. You definitely are. So, yeah, well, congratulations to you. That's exciting. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I like your morning routine, the devotional piece of it. Like prayer in the morning really sets the tone for the rest of the day, even for being grateful, that,
Yes.
that attitude of gratitude.
That really definitely is. And when you mention prayer, when you have adult kids, it changes from just being so hands-on with them and raising them to watching the journey. It's
Yeah.
just different with adult kids. We have adult kids. Fortunately, they are all
Yeah.
launched. It took a while.
Yeah.
But at this point, the best thing I can do for my kids is pray for them and for their relationships. It's the best thing. First of all, it helps me not
Yeah.
worry about them.
Yeah.
And it was so funny because when I started doing more travel, because when the kids were very young, I started doing more local work, and I backed off of doing a lot of travel, and I started doing more private teaching and at the university. I've taught at colleges. But when I started doing more travel, my sweet mother, I've lost her now after a couple of years. I lost her a couple of years ago, but she would ask me every time, well, is Greg going with you? Is Greg going? I said, Mom, no, I'm going on. It's so busy when I travel for work. I hit
Yeah.
that, I am working the whole time. This is not a vacation, but she was so worried for me. But one of the best examples that I've always had of her life is she would get up very, very early. And I had two sisters, so she was, that was quite something too, raising three, she raised three girls. But she would get up very, very early, lock herself into the bathroom and pray for us, just all by herself too.
Aw.
And that was such an example to me because there's a release that you have because you can't control their lives. They have
Hmm.
to make their own decisions. And as our kids grow, trusting that it's a tough one because I still went And they'll tell me when I tell them. It's like, Mom, I know it. I got it. Now it's really, it's just, you don't. So it's just a different relationship. And so that sort of element in our lives, it helps us with a lot of areas too. Not just our kids. It helps us in our businesses. It helps us in
Yeah.
our personal lives. It helps us if we're struggling physically. And if you've had physical problems, weight problems, whatever, and just being able to kind of journal about that and give that over and refocus your mind again. And every day's a new day. As you get out there and you see that new sunrise, it's like you're given another chance. Go for it. So that's a great thing.
Such great motivation, Deborah. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. You're going to touch somebody today. I really, really am honored to have had the chance to hear your story, to be inspired by you. Tell us, how can we connect with you? How can we find you, your books, and all the things that the second half of your journey?
Well, you can. The best way is just to receive my weekly articles,
Mm-hmm.
and those come through my newsletter. And I don't spam you. I don't over. Some you sign up on some of these lists, you get something every day. I don't. It comes once a week, and then once a week there's the pod. It releases the podcast as well. But you can get there from goalsforyourlife.com/newsletter. Very easy. Goalsforyourlife.com/newsletter. And there's a link to my podcast on there as well, Women at Halftime. And of course, I have other websites. I got a huge YouTube channel, but I've got Deborah Johnson Speaker. You can see how I do things on some stages, and also djworksmusic.com there. And I do launch my Hero Mountain Summit only twice a year for individuals. I don't do a lot of individual coaching, but that program I let people sign on individual. It's an accountability program, a lot of input for you, and I just do that twice a year and called Hero Mountain Summit. But you'll get all of that information if you get onto and follow me on social media. And I have
Yeah.
my articles all come out on LinkedIn, so you can follow those. Now that they have the newsletter sort of format, you can follow that there. So there it is.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing, Deborah, and thank you for coming on the show. I do have to ask, how early are you getting up? I'm at 4:30. How early?
I'm at about 4:15.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just wake up early. I think it's a little bit hereditary because my dad got up so early, and I don't know. I started getting up early when I had those kids, and it was it was quiet early in the morning. And I was working when I had young kids. I was also working as a music director, and so I would do a lot of my work very early or later at night. And I homeschooled
Mhm.
for 3 years, and which I strongly believe in, and I really encourage those parents that are doing this because our kids learned things. And my middle child, he's the one that wore me out. He's the attorney now. Okay, we knew he was going to be an attorney at 2, but they know their phonics, and they got a lot of those basics that were great. So, and I think during that time, I just got up really early and then stayed up till I got things done then, because it was pretty busy throughout the day. I was still teaching as well. I would have somebody in to help me on that with the kids, but usually, I would get that routine started.
It was your you time because you
Yes.
had to show up for everyone else throughout the
Yep.
day. I
You
get
sure
it.
do. You sure do.
Yeah. Thank you for so much for sharing and joining us today, Deborah. It's been an honor.
Well, it is an opportunity that I never take for granted, and I really, really appreciate it. You're a delightful hostess, I should say, and you were very thought out on your questions, and I hope this really does encourage some people. I'm not hard sell on anything I do. Please just connect with me to be able to get any of the material that I provide. I provide a lot of it, but it was just an absolute pleasure getting to meet you and what you are all about too, which is helping people with their routines, and that their routine, a strong habit and a strong routine it has the power to change your life. So you are helping people.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. It's been a pleasure.
Hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please comment and tell us what was your favorite part, your favorite habit that you are going to try out for yourself today. Comment below. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. Until next time, I will see you at the top of your best morning routine ever. Stay blessed.